At the beginning of the movie, we see Arman and Salma getting married. The scene then shifts to someone entering into a library, picking a book with curses, flips its pages and tear out few pages from it. Next, we are introduced to Daika, who attended the same college as Salma. Just then, Salma calls her uncle Hassan, a cleric, to join them for a group photo, followed by couple shots. The scene transitions. Salma is now pregnant. Ever since her pregnancy, she has been experiencing nightmares. When Hassan asks whether she and Arman still pray together, she replies that they do so less often now since Arman works overtime. He reminds her that she still has his blessed water, and she confirms she does. Suddenly, Salma hears the sound of a shower running. Cautiously checking the bathroom, she finds no one inside and turns off the water. She then finds the bottle of blessed water there, only to see it transform into black liquid filled with insects. Startled, she drops the bottle, which shatters. Terrified, she shuts the bathroom door, just as Indri, her best friend, arrives. It is then revealed that Salma will be moving into her mother-in-law's house. She has resigned from her job, while Arman remains busy with his work. Feeling uneasy staying home alone, Arman suggests she move in with his mother for company. Later, Arman arrives to collect their packed belongings, and as they leave, a shadowy figure is seen walking inside the house.
Like, comment, subscribe to Recapss Horror.
As they arrive at their destination, they are greeted by their helper, Aunt Sumi. Arman's mother, Lastri, welcomes them warmly, clearly delighted at the thought of caring for her first grandchild. Salma then introduces Indri, mentioning that they both attended the same boarding school. As Salma enters the house, she looks around and pulls open the curtains. Immediately, Lastri tells her that she dislikes having the blinds open. Salma quickly closes them, and Lastri explains that the neighbors in this area are nosy and love prying into other people's business. Later in their room, Arman hugs Salma, telling her he hopes she will like it there, and that perhaps her nightmares will finally stop. Indri interrupts them, saying that Lastri is calling them for lunch. That night, Salma is seen doing prayers. Just then, a book page flashes across the screen. Suddenly, Arman appears behind her and says he is going to sleep. She continues praying, but when she finishes and turns to talk to him, she sees Arman entering the room from the other door. Confused, she asks if he just came in. He says yes. Uneasy, Salma insists they pray together, as she doesn't want the nightmares to return. Just then, a figure briefly appears in the reflection of the TV screen. Reluctantly, Arman joins her in prayer. Later that night, while they are asleep, Salma wakes to see blood pooling across the ceiling above. Drops begin to fall onto her womb, and soon the blood pours down more violently. Horrified, she panics, until she realizes it was only a nightmare. Shaken, she lies back down, but feels something crawling under her blanket. Lifting it, she sees a horrifying entity and screams, only to wake again from another nightmare. Arman holds her as she trembles in fear. The next morning, Salma tells Arman that her uncle Hassan wishes to hold a prayer for her 4-month pregnancy. Arman agrees, and Salma then asks her mother-in-law. Lastri reluctantly responds, asking if they really need to invite all the neighbors, since she hardly knows them. Arman suggests it would be a good chance to get acquainted, but Lastri doesn't look pleased. Soon, people begin gathering at the house for the prayer. Some women from the neighborhood whisper that it's surprising to see Lastri hosting prayer. Meanwhile, Sumi quietly tells Salma that Lastri isn't feeling well and has gone to her room. The prayer begins, but suddenly the lights flicker, thunder rumbles, and heavy rain pours down. Lastri rushes in, upset that her furniture is getting wet. Daika and others quickly help bring it inside. Eventually, the prayer ends. As the guests depart, a woman approaches Salma, introducing herself as Daya, their neighbor. She warns Salma to be careful and asks if her mother-in-law is all right after the rain damaged her belongings. Salma reassures her, but they overhear Lastri angrily declaring that no more gatherings should be held in the house. Daya says that's how the elderly are, before leaving. The next morning, Lastri questions Salma about why she is making boiled dishes for Arman, saying he prefers rawan or chicken feet soup. Salma replies that she needs to watch his cholesterol. Salma overhears Lastri mutter, so controlling for a newlywed. When Salma asks what she means, Lastri changes the subject. She says she'll cook Arman's favorite dish, and Salma offers to help, only to hear her mutter, "Why cook if you won't let him have offal?" The scene shifts to Salma visiting Arman's office. Upon arrival, she notices a woman in red dress on a company's flex, and then sees the same woman leaving Arman's cabin, which makes her a little suspicious. Inside, it's revealed that Indri works for Arman. As Indri leaves, Salma and Arman hug, and Salma surprises him with homemade lunch. Later, Indri asks Salma how life is with her in-laws. Salma replies that there are no major issues, but she feels Arman's mother is hiding something. Indri advises her not to overthink, to be patient, and reassures her that once the baby is born, they will move into the new house Arman is building. Salma nods, hoping for the best. Next, we see Salma working at home when something drops. She ignores it and continues taking pictures of her work. But again, something drops. Looking around, she finds a small stone inside the house. Curious, she steps outside, closes the door, and another stone is thrown inside. Then she hears noises coming from the attic. Grabbing a torch, she climbs the stairs to check and is horrified to see a scary entity. A vase falls and shatters, drawing Lastri to the scene. Salma apologizes and tells her someone is in the attic. Lastri says she'll ask Arman to check later. Just then, Salma gets a call. Daika has arrived with some deliveries. Lastri tells her to go meet him. Outside, Salma greets Daika and calls Sumi to take the items inside. As Sumi carries them away, Daika notices Salma's finger bleeding. He quickly puts a bandage on it, and while he's doing so, Lastri sees them from a distance. Moments later, Arman arrives from the office, casually chats with Daika, and Daika leaves. Later, Arman goes to the attic to check. As he looks around, an entity appears behind him and whispers something. He turns suddenly, making a noise that alarms Salma. Just then, Arman suddenly appears, laughing it off as rats. He says he'll bring rat poison tomorrow and leads Salma away. The next morning, Arman rushes for work. As Salma hands him his jacket, something falls out. After he leaves, Salma notices it's a woman's earring. At that moment, Daya comes by, saying she got some food from her family, but can't finish it alone. So she offers some to Salma. Salma tastes it, enjoys it, and invites Daya inside. But Daya insists she only stopped by to share the food and suggests Salma visit her sometime. When Salma asks where she lives, Daya replies that her house is at the corner, beside the big tree. Back inside, Salma tells Sumi to serve Daya's food for lunch and save Lastri's cooking for dinner. She then asks Sumi if she has noticed anything strange while living there. Sumi reassures her, saying it's common in early pregnancy to feel uneasy and advises Salma to pray whenever she feels unsettled. Salma then asks her to pack a lunchbox, and Sumi fills it with the food Daya had brought. Salma is then shown staring at the earring that had fallen from Arman's jacket. Doubting her own beauty, she begins applying makeup, but suddenly feels nauseous and vomits. After getting ready, she goes downstairs where Lastri asks who brought the food. Salma replies that it was from Daya, their neighbor, but Lastri says she doesn't know anyone named Daya. Salma insists Daya lives at the corner house by the big tree. Sumi hands over a tiffin, and Salma informs Lastri that she is going to the boarding school to meet Hassan. She also had one packed for Arman. At the boarding school, Salma meets Hassan and confides that she still senses a paranormal presence. She isn't sure whether it's because of her pregnancy, the house, or something else. Hassan asks if she has spoken to Arman about it. Salma says no. Arman is already stressed from work, and she doesn't want their relationship to suffer. Hassan advises her to be honest with Arman and promises to help with blessed water and prayer. When Salma offers him the food she brought, Hassan opens the lunchbox to find it filled with worms. Meanwhile, at his office, Arman also discovers his own tiffin crawling with maggots. That night, Salma insists that someone must have swapped the food, since she tasted it herself. Lastri denies it, saying neither she nor Sumi tampered with anything. Salma argues it was fine when Sumi packed it, growing frustrated and accusing someone of changing it, her suspicion falling on both Lastri and Sumi. Later, Lastri approaches Arman and asks what's wrong with Salma, noting she seems increasingly uncomfortable. Seeing Arman's stress, she advises him to talk to Salma openly, reminding him that communication is the key in marriage. Meanwhile, Salma stares at her reflection, holding her womb. Just then, a book page flashes across the screen. Suddenly, Salma hears Arman's voice, as though he's speaking to another woman on the phone. Alarmed, she steps out of her room, searching for him when Sumi appears. Salma asks if she's seen Arman. Sumi replies that he's inside. As Sumi takes out the garbage, the lights suddenly start flickering and then go out completely, which terrifies her. Just as suddenly, the lights come back on, and she sees the shadow of a growing entity standing behind her. Horrified, Sumi panics and runs away. Meanwhile, Salma finds Arman asleep in their room when a message notification pops up on his phone. As she moves to check it, Arman suddenly stops her, saying it's just office work and he'll look at it in the morning. Salma lies down beside him and tries to initiate intimacy, but he turns her away, claiming he's tired. Hurt, Salma turns her face aside and quietly begins to cry. The next day, Salma is seen pouring blessed water into glasses and taking them away. Sumi quietly tells Lastri that she believes what Salma is experiencing might actually be real. Lastri asks her not to overthink, and instead try to figure out who this Daya really is. Then Lastri secretly watches as Salma recites a prayer, blows into a glass, and sets it aside. Salma has placed blessed water in different parts of the house. Later, Salma is on her phone when she suddenly hears noises coming from the attic. At that moment, her entire room begins to shake. Cracks spread across the walls, and her miniature house shatters. Slowly, the whole room starts collapsing around her. Salma screams in terror, only to realize it was all in her mind. But she sees that her miniature house is actually broken. The scene cuts to Arman giving a presentation at his office when he receives a call from Salma. He ignores it at first, but when she calls again, he excuses himself from the clients and answers. Salma hurriedly explains everything that just happened. Irritated, Arman tells her he's in an important meeting. Suddenly, the call glitches and he hears Salma's voice accusing him. "You never care about me. I hope your project fails." Arman is shocked when he hears this. Just then, Indri arrives and reminds him that the clients are waiting. Meanwhile, Daika is shown helping Salma at home. He gently asks if everything is all right between her and Arman. Salma says no, but just then she hears a noise from the attic. She asks Daika if he heard it too. Daika turns on his phone's flashlight and goes to check, but suddenly, a swarm of bats bursts out, circling over Salma. Daika quickly shoos them away, and at that moment, both Sumi and Lastri rush in. The scene shifts to Arman, sitting outside his office, visibly tense. Indri approaches, offering him a cigarette. She asks if everything is okay. Arman sighs and says he doesn't know if all marriages go through this. Back at home, we see Daika leaving just as Daya arrives. Lastri overhears their conversation from the kitchen. Daya comforts Salma, telling her not to worry if her husband comes home late or seems less attentive, reminding her that pregnancy can heighten emotions. Salma asks if Daya is married. Daya nods, saying she once felt the same, thinking she was the problem, until she discovered there was another woman. Later that night, Salma calls Indri and asks if Arman and his team are working late again. Indri confirms they are. Salma then asks about the ambassador, whose face is on the flex standee, wondering if she often visits the office. Indri replies that she never comes there. Suspicious, Salma goes to Arman's office and spots the woman in a red dress heading upstairs. She follows her, calling out, and sees her leaving Arman's cabin before heading downstairs. Salma nearly slips while rushing to follow her. Just then, Indri arrives asking if she's all right and why she's there so late at night. Salma snaps, accusing Indri of protecting Arman and keeping secrets from her. She then confronts Arman in front of the entire office, accusing him of having an affair. She insists she herself heard him talking to this woman on the phone. Embarrassed and furious, Arman drags her out. In the car, Arman angrily asks if she wants him to quit his job. Salma pleads that she just wants him to listen and believe her. Arman shouts back that he is listening. She demands he stop making excuses and not go after another woman. He yells that there is no woman. Just then, they narrowly avoid an accident. Both fall into tense silence as they drive home. Then the cursed book page flashes across the screen. Later, Salma stares at herself in the mirror. In her reflection, she feels as though she is becoming uglier each day. She breaks down crying and throws her shrug at the mirror in despair. Meanwhile, Arman prepares to sleep on the sofa in the living area. Later at night, Salma comes near him. Arman wakes up to see her suddenly strangling him, her eyes bleeding. Just then, he realizes it was only a nightmare, though it felt terrifyingly real. The next day, Suma notices a woman entering the house Salma had mentioned belongs to Daya. Suma follows her, but the house looks abandoned, so she turns to leave. Just then, a woman asks, "Looking for someone?" Suma turns around, peeks inside, and spots a frightening entity, which horrifies her. Meanwhile, at home, Lastri asks Salma if Arman slept outside. She advises her that when problems arise, they should be discussed calmly. Salma replies that Arman never listens and accuses him of having an affair, adding that Lastri would take Arman's side anyway. In anger, she storms off, but just then there's a knock at the door. As Salma goes to open it, Suma tells Lastri that the house at the corner is abandoned and empty. At the door, it's Daya, saying she has something important to discuss. Suma tells Lastri that she asked the security and neighbors, and none of them know anyone named Daya. She insists they must inform Salma. Just then, Salma comes and casually tells Suma to make tea since Daya is here. Hearing this shocks both Suma and Lastri. Lastri goes to check and peeks outside, but she hears a voice saying, "Stay out of it," even though no one is sitting with Salma. Then she noticed that the blessed water Salma has placed in rooms has turned black. Just then, Salma enters the house. Lastri follows her, and Salma turns on the stove and leaves. When Lastri goes to turn the stove off, the flames suddenly flare up, spilling boiling water on her. In that moment, she notices Salma rushing in from outside, even though she had just seen her go inside earlier. Concerned, Salma tends to Lastri's burn, leaving Lastri deeply unsettled. Later, upset over his mom's injury, Arman asks Salma and Suma where they were. Salma says she was with a guest. Arman presses, "With Daika? What's going on between you two?" Salma explains that Daika is just a supplier for her dollhouse business. Angered, Arman accuses her of cheating, but Lastri stops him. Suma takes full blame for Lastri's injury, and Salma storms off in fury. That night, Lastri tells Suma she contacted Salma's uncle Hassan. He can't come as he's busy, but he will give them blessed water for protection and gives Suma his address to pick it up. On her way, Suma hears terrifying whispers. Nervous, she moves forward, feeling uneasy as an entity brushes past her. While waiting for her bus and checking the address, a shadow falls over her. The lights flicker, and she sees an entity in the distance. Stepping back in fear, the figure vanishes, only for a bus to suddenly hit her. The scene cuts to Hassan entering the library. He switches on the lights and picks up the same cursed book. Flipping through it, he notices some pages are torn. The lights flicker and stabilize. He then spots a dark entity walking. Unafraid, he recites a prayer, causing it to vanish. Later, Salma, Lastri, and Arman are at the hospital. Lastri is devastated, blaming herself for Salma's death. She tells Arman that though she didn't believe it at first, she now fears Suma's death, and the strange things Salma experiences at home might be related to that neighbor she regularly sees. Later, Lastri apologizes to Salma, saying she now believes everything she heard and experienced is real. She also mentions that she sent Suma to Daya's house, but it was abandoned. Salma snaps, asking why Daya is being brought up. Lastri explains that every time she mentioned Daya had come over, she saw Salma talking to herself. Furious, Salma shouts that she is not crazy and storms off in anger. Salma goes to Daya's house carrying a bottle of blessed water. The house now looks well maintained. She places the water outside the door, and Daya opens the door, inviting her in. Meanwhile, at home, Lastri is sleeping, but hears the sound of someone sweeping in the garden. Thinking it's Suma, she goes to check. At Daya's, she starts provoking Salma against her family. She hugs Salma, and suddenly Salma notices the blessed water has turned black and the bottle shatters. As Daya turns to look, her evil reflection appears in the glass. Suddenly the lights go out. Salma sees Daya's evil form, which haunts her before disappearing. Back at home, Lastri finds a broom lying outside. When she picks it up, she sees it smeared with blood. Terrified, she throws it, but blood stains her hands too. Then she hears Suma's voice pleading for help. Suddenly, Suma's ghost appears behind her, and she falls in fear. Sumi continues pleading, and Lastri runs, but suddenly Daya appears in front of her. She begs for help, and then asks who she is. But as she retreats, she trips and falls down the stairs. Meanwhile, Salma starts reciting prayers in fear. Daya appears behind her, moving toward her in her evil form. Salma keeps praying, but Daya is unaffected and laughs maniacally. Salma finally manages to escape and runs straight home, calling for Arman and Lastri, but there's no response. Suddenly, Daya appears there. Salma then sees the woman in the red dress, and as she tries to flee, another demon appears. The three of them surround her, laughing maniacally, switching places, and then merge into a single ghostly form. Terrified, Salma recites prayers. The ghost growls and vanishes instantly. She rushes out of the house into the pouring rain and runs to Indri's house, asking her to take her to boarding school to Hassan. Admitting she doesn't know where Arman is, Indri calms her down, gives her water, and goes to fetch dry clothes. Salma notices Arman's lighter on the table and becomes suspicious. While searching the house, Arman emerges from the bathroom. He quickly reassures her that nothing is as she fears. He explains that he found his mom unconscious at home, took her to the hospital, and met Indri there. Salma, still distrustful, accuses Arman of deception and lashes out at Indri for betraying her. Indri snaps back, saying Arman has done a lot for Salma. He has always listened to her, and she has no right to doubt him. She should be grateful instead. Enraged, Salma slaps Indri, declares she wants a divorce, and storms off. She takes a cab to the boarding school, with Arman running after her.
You're still watching? Good. Like, comment, and subscribe to Recapss Horror.
As Salma reaches the boarding school, Hassan explains that someone is trying to destroy her marriage with Arman. It's a jinn named Dasim, whose mission is to ruin human relationships. She has been hearing and experiencing things that are not real. Salma asks why it would target her, and Hassan warns that its goal is to bring chaos, leading them to a fate worse than the devil's. He explains that jinns can instigate, slander, and pit people against each other. The cursed book Shams al-Marif, which was sealed to prevent misuse, has been stolen. Whoever took it is using Dasim to create chaos in her marriage. Hassan reassures her that there is still a way to save their relationship. Arman soon arrives at the boarding school to meet Salma, and the scene cuts to Hassan performing a ritual on Salma. Suddenly, photos on the wall shake, the air moves, and the lights flicker. Pages from the cursed book appear on screen, and a demon haunts Salma. She becomes possessed, levitates, and laughs maniacally. Hassan places a stick on her forehead and begins reciting prayers. Salma screams in pain, slowly calms down, and falls to the ground, pleading for help. She suddenly pushes Hassan back, breaking the stick and driving its fragments into his feet. Arman tries to intervene, but Salma attacks him as well. She laughs, sits on him, and then licks him with her demonic tongue, taunting, "You still love that woman?" Just then, Hassan grabs her head, reciting prayers, and gradually she calms down and loses consciousness. Salma is immediately admitted to the hospital due to heavy bleeding, and it is later revealed that they have lost their child. Days later, Hassan arrives at Arman and Salma's new house. Lastri has recovered, and the family has overcome the dark phase. Guests are present, and Indri arrives. Salma hugs her and apologizes, explaining that Arman had told her everything. Hassan then speaks about maintaining a healthy marriage, emphasizing that it requires commitment from both partners and staying connected to God through shared prayer. In between prayers, Indri approaches Salma, asking for a pad as she has started her period. Salma guides her to the washroom upstairs. In the washroom, Indri finds an earring that fell from Arman's jacket, and it turns out to be hers. On Salma and Arman's wedding day, Hassan had asked about Indri. Salma said she couldn't attend due to illness, but in reality, she was the one who unsealed the cursed book, tore pages from it, and repeatedly tried to trap Arman. Indri takes out a voodoo doll from her bag, the similar one she had placed in a box when Arman and Salma had shifted to Lastri's house, and now places it under the sink. In the mirror's reflection, her evil smile is revealed, and finally, her fully demonic face appears. The film concludes with this haunting revelation. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.